Welcome everyone to another episode of Follow the Light Music Review. My name is John DeLaurentis, and this is episode 12 in the Revisiting the Classics series. And today we're going to be looking at an album that I believe is a masterpiece and one of the highlights in this particular band's catalog. And this is the Newsboys and the album Going Public. So before we get into that, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, and like the video. And then you can also ring the notification bell so that you don't miss any content that is posted to the channel. All right, so let's talk about this incredible classic album by the Newsboys, Going Public. Okay, this is the original CD issue of this album, and this album has come out in 1994 on Star Song Records. So let's talk a little bit about the Newsboys before we get into looking at this album in particular. The Newsboys, they formed as a band in 1985 in Australia. It was formed by drummer Peter Furler and guitarist George Perdikis. And John James was added as the lead vocalist, who was Furler's best friend, and Sean Taylor on bass guitar. So they did record a demo tape called He's Coming Back. It was recorded in Australia and released in 1987. And all but one of those tracks, a song called He Died For You, which is the ending song on the album, all the rest of the songs on the cassette ended up in re-recorded or refashioned ways on their earlier albums, their initial albums, full-length albums. That song "He Died For You," which is the only song never re-recorded, is kind of a soft acoustic ballad that's exclusive to that original cassette. The band sounds like a typical pop rock band. Nothing particularly outstanding at this point with the band, but they did come to the States because they were signed to Refuge Records, and they recorded their first major label debut album called Read All About It, and that was released in 1988. And George Perdikis at this point was replaced by Peter Yates on guitar. And the album was produced by well-known musician Tommy Sims, who's known in the music world on a lot of different things. But Tommy Sims also was a part of the band Whiteheart at one point. Then the band, from that debut album, moved record labels from Refuge to Star Song Records. So their second album, Hell Is For Wimps, was released in 1990. And guitarist Peter Yates at this point was replaced by Jonathan Jange, I believe that's pronounced. The producer was none other than Michael Gleason of AD fame, who also contributes keyboards to the album. And also Sonny Lallerstedt recorded and mixed the album, and he also contributed some acoustic and electric guitars. And Sonny Lallerstedt is a name that you may be familiar with, who was in the Pat Terry group. The band's third album, Boys Will Be Boys, and that's boys spelled B-O-Y-Z, was released by Star Song in 1991. Guitarist Jonathan Jange was replaced by Vernon Bishop for this album, and Corey Pryor was added on keyboards. Peter Furler at this point steps into the producer's chair for this album, and the band had a video for the opening track, Kingdom Man, that you can watch on YouTube. It shows the band as a very energetic one, with the band performing and dancing and bouncing around, almost kind of like what you might associate with the band Bash in the Code, if you remember them. And they performed the song, on a stage setup. The band sounds a little bit, and they've been compared to Mylon Lefebvre and Broken Heart at this point. And it's very interesting that there is a Mylon connection here between Peter Furler, who went on to marry Mylon Lefebvre's daughter, Summer. So interesting. So the band's first three albums, they have kind of a pop, rock, dance sound, nothing that distinctive. I think Peter Furler himself views this period of the band as having sometimes silly things that they wrote about, and that they were not that great of a band at this time. And so really he looks back, and most people who know the band, the Newsboys, came into knowledge of them with the next album that came out, which was their fourth album. So they kind of came into their own with the Not Ashamed album, which was also released on Star Song Records, and that came out in 1992. And that's this album here. And this is kind of when the Newsboys really started to make a name for themselves here. The album was also bolstered musically, songwriting-wise, by having Christian alternative rocker Steve Taylor step into the producer's chair with Peter Furler on this album. So they co-produced the album together. And also Taylor lent his talents in the songwriting department. So they definitely stepped up a notch and became more unique in their sound. And the album as a whole, at this point, they had, it seemed to like a rotating guitarist. And so for this particular, I'm Not Ashamed, there is no guitarist in the official Newsboys lineup for this album. And the guitar work on the album is actually handled by Chagall Guevara guitarist Dave Perkins and Phil Madeira, who also plays organ and piano on this. Phil Madeira is another well-known musician who has played with a lot of different artists, one being Phil Keaggy. And the multi-instrumentalist John Painter also plays bass on 4 songs on this album. So this album is a huge leap forward for the band in maturity as they tap more into a dance groove sound. Those kind of elements are really prominent on here. They write a lot of memorable songs such as the anthemic title track, I'm Not Ashamed, and the opening rhythmic toe-tapping synth-pop song, I Cannot Get You Out of My System. They also interestingly cover a DeGarmo and Key classic song, Boycott Hell. And it's interesting, in the lyric book, I think it says, with apologies to DeGarmo and Key. They turned the song into this kind of frenetic dance floor workout that even features a rap by Steve Taylor on it, where he raps in that part of that rap, he says, "We got to boycott dumb lyrics as well." So it's interesting, but anyone who has heard the original DeGarmo and Key would probably be aghast when they hear this version of it. But of course, done in fun, and just definitely a different take on that particular song there. The album also yielded 4 Christian radio hits. So like I said, they really got on the map with this album. I'm Not Ashamed, the title track, was #1 for 3 weeks in 1992. Another hit off the album was Where You Belong and Turn Your Eyes Upon Jesus, kind of inserts that classic hymn in there. That was #9 in 1993. And Upon This Rock hit #4, and Dear Shame hit #11. So this is where the Newsboys, like I said, really kind of moved into a band of note. However, I think when they get to their 5th album, the album that we're going to be discussing today, the Going Public album, this is really where they kind of broke through the stratosphere, and they delivered an absolute masterpiece, and it's one of their high watermark albums in their discography. The album again features Steve Taylor as co-producer with Peter Furler, and the big differences here are the maturity of the lyric writing, which a lot of the lyrics here were written by Steve Taylor, and in some cases with co-written with Peter Furler. And the album as a whole, lyrically, just really shows the maturity in their lyric writing. They're gone are the kind of the silly aspects of their earlier albums with the lyrics and that fun kind of poppy, bash in the code type style has been replaced by a band that is more focused musically. The album is, a mix of groove, pop, and rock elements. And this album actually earned them a gold record with this album, with this release, and came with a lot of accolades. A gold record, selling a Christian album, selling gold, usually reserved for someone like of a stature of an Amy Grant, but this album went gold, which means it signifies 500,000 copies sold. So quite an achievement for the band, who started with those first 3 albums and then reaching this point. And the album also had other accolades as well. It won Dove Awards for Rock Album of the Year and Rock Recorded Song of the Year for the instant anthemic classic song Shine. They also were nominated for 2 other Dove Awards, short form music video of the year and song of the year, both for the song Shine. And the album was also nominated for a Grammy Award for Best Rock Gospel Album. So a lot of accolades here for this album. And Shine, of course, a song that is, classic in their catalog, one of the greatest songs they ever wrote. In fact, when they came out with their compilation album, they named it Shine, the Hits. This is a really good compilation. So if you're someone who doesn't know about the Newsboys, I would say this is a good place to start to give you a overview of their music up to that point that was released. And again, talking about going public, beyond all the accolades I just mentioned, CCM Magazine also listed the album at number 70 in their book, The 100 Greatest Albums in Christian Music. And Shine, the song, was listed at number 9 in CCM Magazine's Greatest Songs in Christian Music. So quite an elevation of the band at this point from their earlier roots. Now, longtime bass player Sean Taylor is replaced on this album by Kevin Mills. And unfortunately, Kevin Mills tragically would die in the year 2000 in a motorcycle accident. But he plays on here on the bass, replacing Sean Taylor, who had been with them from the very beginning he was on the earlier cassette debut here. Jody Davis is added to the band as a guitarist. So they have a stable guitar player now. And Duncan Phillips joins also on the keyboards. And keyboarder and programmer Jeff Frankenstein, he does not play on this particular album, but he's listed as a touring member in the credits. And he does become a part of the band at the end of the final recordings of this album. Now, this album, like I said, not ashamed, yielded them 4 Christian radio hits. This album yielded them 6 radio hits. So imagine 6 out of the 10 tracks here, all radio hits. So the album is almost like a greatest hits album. The album, the 6 songs that were radio hits was First, Be Still, number 2 in 1994. And Shine was number 1 for 6 weeks in 1995. Let It Rain, number 7. Spirit Thing, number 1 for 2 weeks. Real Good Thing, number 1. And Truth and Consequences, number 1 for 2 weeks. So just a barn burner of an album that really catapulted the band forward as one of the really big names in Christian music. So let's look at the CD, and then we can discuss the songs here. So the CD here has this very interesting cover here. So if you don't know the history or what this cover is, looks like a very historic photo, and indeed it is. The album cover photo is actually a historic photo from 1948, post-World War II in Germany. And this was taken during a European evangelical crusade with Reverend George A. Palmer there at that. So very, very interesting album cover, very unique. And if you look at the back, kind of has like another variation of that picture there with the songs there. And then inside that picture, carried over into the, can't really probably see it too well here, but it's carried over onto the CD face. Inside the album, inside the CD is the booklet here, and the booklet is typical fold out. So it folds out with all the lyrics, has a little note here, which is interesting, from the president of Star Song, Darrell A. Harris here, and he talks about the creativity of the label, where they're trying to bring in artists where artistry, the slogan is where artistry meets ministry. So having great ministry in the songs, but also having artistic quality here. And you can see here, there's some pictures of the band members here. And that little note from the president, little picture there, and then of course the rest of the lyrics here. So, and again, this is another CD, like I said, from 1994 that could use a reboot, a remaster, and a re-release to get it back out there for people to see. So let's talk about these songs on this album. Absolutely fantastic album, song by song. Not any filler on this album at all. Every single song is fantastic on this album. It opens up with Real Good Thing. That starts with a strong bass and drum backbeat. It's a great rhythmic song that opens the album with a groove. The rhythm guitar, the keyboard fills, they add musical texture to an infectious song with inventive lyrics here. The chorus says, when we don't get what we deserve, it's a real good thing. When we get what we don't deserve, it's a real good thing. So, of course, talking about salvation in Christ. If we got what we deserved as sinners, that would not be a good thing. But fortunately, because of the grace of Christ and his dying on the cross for us, we get what we don't deserve. And it's a real good thing. The grace of God that has made it available to us because of Christ's death on the cross and dying for the sins for you and I and for the whole world. This is followed up by that song Shine, which has become, an absolute standard, an iconic song in their discography. It's one of the finest songs ever recorded in Christian music. Its opening guitar motif, its melody leads into a song that is pure ear candy. As John James talks, it kind of sings the verses here, and then that anthemic chorus comes in. You probably, if you know this song, it's probably playing in your head right now. I'm thinking of it right now. And of course, it's a musical adaptation of Matthew 5:16. Let your light so shine before men that they see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. And just a great song. One of those songs that, again, a classic song in all of Christian music, contemporary Christian music. This is followed up by Spirit Thing. This opens up almost like with a rockabilly type guitar riff, some keyboard punctuations here. The song is another slab of memorable and soulful proclamations about the moving of the Spirit in a Christian's life. And it features some gospel type background vocals as well in here. This is followed up by Let It Rain. Now this is a really wonderful song of contemplation. And at the very beginning, the lyrics in the booklet, it says, a fisherman remembers. And of course, the fisherman that they're referencing here is Peter, the Apostle Peter. It's like a ballad-like percussive track, motive singing from James here. He sings, again, like I said, from the perspective of the Apostle Peter about the blessings of Christ and desiring them to rain down even despite his failings. Of course, Peter being the apostle who denied Christ 3 times. It's a passionate song underscored by, and it has almost like a tribal drumming feel to it and keyboard fills that are in it. This is followed by the title track, Going Public. And this is another song that's another highlight of the album. It's another anthemic pop masterpiece. It features a great bass line to it, accented rhythm guitar fills, solid drum backbeat, and it proclaims about going public with our faith. It has a nice guitar solo that's featured in the middle and at the end of the song. So again, one of the highlights on the album for sure. This is followed by Truth and Consequences. Now, this is one of the most lyrically inventive tracks on the album. The song opens with this guitar riff before heading into another rhythmic workout. And it talks about Christian singles kind of preying on or taking advantage of women in, maybe a Christian gathering of some sort. And there's some interesting talk in the middle of it where this is illustrated here. Some of the things they may say that aren't quite appropriate to try to get the attention of a woman that they may be interested in. And they're not approaching this desire for a partner in a Christ-like or patient way. And there's some great lyrics here where it says, let's talk about real love, truth, and propaganda. Are you really going to stand for love that waits its turn? In other words, being patiently awaiting God to bring this person to you. Not that you can't talk with someone or show interest to them, but appropriate, with boundaries. And of course, the song is talking about Christian males who are kind of stepping over those boundaries. And you see that in the lyrics of the entire song here. So really, really inventive song about an important topic. The next song is Lights Out. This song moves the album into a frenetic pace with these distorted guitars, this fast pace. It's almost like a U2-esque sound mixed with punk, almost veering toward punk. The drums, they pulsate throughout the lyrics and encourages people to serve Christ. Don't go shutting down till the trumpet sounds and the battle is won. So a very interesting kind of diversion here. Really, really, like I said, a very frenetic type song. Then that kind of starts to be followed up by a couple tracks that are more ballad-like. So Be Still, which was the first Christian radio hit off the album, is a beautiful mid-tempo ballad, has a nice sing-along chorus, anchored by an atmospheric keyboard melody here. And the bass really helps drive this song forward as it admonishes to be still and know that I am God. And this is followed up by another wonderful ballad called When You Call My Name. This is a wonderful slow-paced ballad, lovely guitar fills here, keyboard textures, and it talks about a preacher lamenting about the apathy of his congregation, his listeners. And one of the opening lines is, I want to preach the word, they want massages. They check their watches, I spy another yawn. Okay, so kind of like he's on fire to teach the word, but he's talking to a crowd that's kind of apathetic and not really paying attention. They just want, they want entertainment more than hard, cold truths, biblical truths here. So really good lyrics again here. Now the album ends with what I believe to be the highlight of the album, my favorite track on the album, and one that's not showing up on a hits collection because it isn't was not a hit single. But this is a song that's a deep cut that I believe is one of the greatest songs in the entire Newsboys discography, and it's a song called Ellie G. And it's the title of the song is a play on the word elegy, an elegy that you would give for someone who has passed away, who's died, but Ellie at E-L-L-E and then G period, as if that's the girl's name, Ellie G. Probably and possibly one of the most heartfelt songs written about the griefs associated with suicide. It's a song where the narrator is grappling with trying to understand another person's suicide. The song's title, like I said, is a play on that word elegy, and it talks about a girl, a fictitious girl in this case, that commits suicide in a very gruesome way by throwing herself in front of a train. Now, Furler has said about this song that it was inspired by the suicides of Kurt Cobain of the band Nirvana, who took his life, and Christian R&B singer Vince Ebo, who was associated with Charlie Peacock at one time, put out a solo album. I can't remember exactly what the title of it is. I'll put a picture of it in when I edit the video. But he committed suicide, and that was kind of a shockwave. Here's someone who was a Christian, and how could a Christian commit suicide? So the song is kind of a chance to, a kind of a hope in this song by the narrator, that he longs, that he wish he could have been there, that he wishes he could have been there to prevent this tragedy of someone taking their life. And the song ends with this very powerful line as it kind of goes through the emotions and the difficulties of dealing with suicide, of someone actually taking their life. And it says, God, I long to see her face. We haven't a hope beyond your grace. I know that you will overcome evil for good. So the music is very atmospheric, emotive. It ends with an almost crying type of guitar solo. It's an absolute masterpiece of a song. Like I said, one of the best songs in the Newsboys catalog. It really, really shows the maturity of the band in this particular song. It's such a far cry away from the kind of the silly lyrics and the quirkiness of their first three albums here. And this one, the particular music, this one here was written by Peter Furler, and we hear Bean in the background here is calling for me, but we're near the end of this video. Peter Furler and Wade James, who is also a bass player and additional musician on the album, was also a member of Chagall Guevara. So the lyrics here are penned by Stephen Taylor, and absolutely one of his finest lyrical creations. So again, this is an album that is an essential album for any Christian music collection. It's a bona fide classic. So if you don't know this album, you need to find out about it and give it a listen on YouTube. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I appreciate you watching. I know this video is a little bit long, and I also encourage you to please comment on the video and subscribe to the channel. And I also encourage you, as always, to follow the light which shines out in the darkness. God bless everyone.